What is going on then? Right, are we back or what? Are we back? Hmm. Is it? Am I back? Am I live? What is going on? Where's the one that's live? Where am I? What's going on? If you're watching on YouTube, be patient. I started two different ones. There are people here. I'm just going to close this. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. The heavens is going on here. There's the chat. Chat. Right. Something's happening. Something is happening. I'm going to share this baby. How come I'm not hearing it? What is going on? What is going on? Why is there no volume? How come we can't hear any? Oh, I know why. All right, everyone. I'll be right with you. If you're here, if you're watching, if you're going to watch later, thank you for your patience. It's little old me doing some things, getting ready to start the show. Daryl's taking a week off. I was considering doing the same, and then I got excited and had an inspired idea for a show. So here I am. Right now, I'm just getting everything set up, as one does. Okay, let's do this. Let's put this in here. Hopefully, I trust you're all having a wonderful day. Okay, that looks good. What was that in? All right. See if anyone's here. Almost there. Okay. Cranky Pants is in the house. Who else is here? Sheesh, what happened? Why am I not seeing the whole thing? Oh, here we go. All right. I hope you're doing well out there in YouTube land. As noted, I'm almost ready to begin. Let's go here and here and here. Okay, that's done. That's done. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I got Romeo the cat in the house with me today. My wife's around here somewhere. We'll see how long this here episode lasts. Okay, that's good. There we go. Oh yeah. Now we're cooking. Now we are cooking. Okay, this is going to be interesting. It's just I. Recording. Oh, yeah. All right. Now we're doing something. All right. Welcome to Funniest Thing with Daryl and Ed, where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes. I am Ed, and I am broadcasting live from iTink Studios in beautiful downtown Santa Monica. And I could not be happier to be here. I have a show called Of Course You Can on tap. First ever show. I don't think we've had a guest. I think one time we had a guest drop out mid-show, but never before has there been a guestless show. But Daryl decided to take the week off, and I got excited. Let's do just to drop in and share some truth and connect with you all. And so here we are. And the show is called Of Course You Can. Anything your heart can conjure up, your life can bring about. The most important step we can adopt, the most important step we can take is to adopt an "of course I can" attitude. This attitude is not based on the rational mind's assessment of the people and conditions in our lives. Let's see here. This attitude is not based on the rational mind's assessment of the people and conditions in our lives. The "of course I can" attitude is based on the principle that the desires of our heart are already known and in full swing in the mind of God. Today's show is a reminder that at any moment we can turn things around by adopting an "of course I can" attitude. And this idea came to me last week. Sunday. I have it dated in my little journal. And I wrote down today's blessing technique, or power washing for your mind, of course, is the "of course" technique. I'm sure this was inspired by some of the things I've been reading. I've been reading a lot of Martha Smock. I've been reading Mary Kupferle, some Emmett Fox, some Alan Cohen. And this morning I was reading a little bit of Fazzaro's book. You got to do your morning routine. It is so important. It is a lifesaver. It is one of the key factors in maintaining an "of course I can" attitude for me. So anyway, last Sunday, I woke up, and as I think I did my readings, I did my meditation, and then I started, so I was my mind was grappling with a lot of things, as it has been known to do lately, whether it's in the news or, it's life. These things happen. So, but that morning I woke up and I did my morning routine, and then all of a sudden, this technique came to me, and it's a combination of actually denial and affirmation. So I still had a lot of noise, or I think the noise of resistance in my brain had started to diminish. So I started to feel some leverage. But in order to continue releasing, I started saying to myself, of course everything is getting better for me now. Of course my life is renewing and expanding. Of course our finances are expanding and growing in every good way. Of course this is the best day ever. So I'm recognizing this resistance going on. And then I'm being like a loving parent or grandparent, as Daryl would say sometimes, and going, of course it's going to work out. I know it doesn't look like it to my rational mind and to the things maybe I watched on YouTube yesterday, or the things that popped up on my Yahoo screen when I was going to look at my mail. But of course they're going to work out, because there's a loving presence behind everything, and it is so real. And the only way to know it's real is do your morning routine and tap into affirmative thoughts. And so the power washing technique for the week is, whatever you're thinking, do your morning routine. And then when there's those lingering, the little child within us is not quite ready to fully let go. Hi, Barbara Weatherman. Nice to see you. Even though that part of us is not fully ready to let go, that's how you kind of give it that extra little boost. Of course it's going to be better. That's where you inject your thoughts with enthusiasm. Of course this is the best day ever. Of course I'm an amazing teacher. Of course I'm amazing at dancing. Of course I'm an amazing writer. Of course I'm loved. Of course all my needs are going to be met. Those things that you want to fully embrace, but you're not quite there. Sometimes we got to just take a leap and put some enthusiasm into our voice and say, of course it's going to be okay. Because all we're really doing is connecting with that deeper part of us that already knows these things to be true. And because once our subconscious and our conscious thinking aligns with what they call like the superconscious or divine mind, life becomes rather effortless. I was reading Alan Cohen, Deep Breath of Life. We had him on the show many years ago, but today, actually, March 8th, he said, circumstances do not make the man, they reveal him. And that's from James Allen. Many people have quoted that before. He says, what we have is not a result of luck or circumstance, but thought and attitude. Some people succeed at everything they do, and others fail consistently. The life we live is not cast upon us like a net, it is magnetized by our attitude. No one can take from you anything you deserve by right of your consciousness, and you cannot keep something you have not earned by virtue of your thoughts. The most powerful way to improve your circumstances is by upgrading your consciousness. And this is something we do every day, throughout the day. It's not a one-time thing. It's an all-day, I don't want to say it's all day, every day, because we're not sitting there grinding away and trying to improve our consciousness, but it is something that we become more and more aware of each day, and then we gently and lovingly upgrade our consciousness throughout the day. If you try to change your situation without changing your mind, sooner or later you will revert to your former position. When you change your mind, life has no choice but to recluster itself according to the new level of vibration at which you are operating. My consciousness of good magnetizes ever-increasing blessings to me. So that's what Alan Cohen was saying, which is what all the great metaphysicians, New Thought, metaphysical Christians, Jesus himself, pray as if it is already so. Condition our mind to recognize that it already is so, because it is. This is the best part about it. I've been having some days where, like I said, I'll see things in the news or whatever is going on in the world, and my subconscious might get hooked throughout the day. But when I go sit, then at the end of the day, I go sit in my chair. I read my books, even though part of me is feeling like, what's the point of reading these books or something? I might be that far off the beam. But as soon as I let go and start to just feel the warmth of these loving people like Martha Smock's words or Mary Kupferle's words or Alan Cohen or any of these great New Thought teachers, like my insides just release and let go. And I just recognize the truth of being, which is good. It's always good. I can see you out there. I can hear you. I can feel you. And I know you're in the same place I am, the same world, the same universe. We each have our own place in it, but we're all dealing with the same mind and emotions. And as we figure out how to tap in and optimize our experience, because we start to realize like what Florence Scotian called the game of life and how to play it, it starts to become fun because we can't lose. We are here to give love. So the more things there are that seem to be in need of love, when we empower ourselves to recognize that we are a light unto the world, everything just becomes an even greater opportunity to draw even more creativity and more love from within us. Everything really becomes a blessing when we take the time to adopt this "of course I can" attitude. Because when I say "of course I can," what I'm responding to is those heartfelt ideas, those inspirations and intuitions that come. And in the past, I didn't know how important my attitude was. So like there's a Bible story about, seeds planted in the shallow soil and they die, they don't even take root. And then if they're a little deeper, the soil's a little better, they start to take root, but then they die. But if the soil is fertile and ready to receive those ideas, they start to blossom and bloom. We are working on the soil of our consciousness. This is the beauty of this way of life. When I say, of course I can, I am talking about the I am that Christ spoke about, the Christ within. Of course the Christ within me could do this. Otherwise, I would have never had the idea in the first place. So Martha Smock in Fear Not, Messages of Assurance says, life is really a matter of choices. And then she quotes this Robert Frost poem, The Road Not Taken, which has been coming up several times this week for me, different people talking about it. And she quotes, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And metaphorically, that could be the roads less traveled in our consciousness. We we might come up upon a very well-worn road of worry and thoughts that are telling us we can't do it, or thoughts that are telling us someone else is to blame or someone else is responsible. But we can choose to go on this lesser traveled road within our own lives, within our own mind, and literally we create new neural pathways. So, and the more we go down that road, the more we create a road in our mind that's easier to go down. So this daily practice of doing a morning routine, doing some evening reading, these things are like building a new road, this superhighway in our mind that allows us to be successful. Charles Fillmore said, we can be what we determine to be. We can be masters or we could be serfs. It rests with us whether we shall fill the high places in life or the low, whether we shall serve or be served, led or be led, or be sickly or healthy. This is the crux of the unity teachings, that we do have a choice, that we not only have a choice, but we have the God-given power to change our thinking, to change our lives through our freedom of choice. When we take the road of truth, when we choose to follow our inner guidance, that, as the poet has said, makes all the difference. We are not bound to past mistakes or failures. We can change the direction of our lives. We can choose the way of healing, success, and happiness. And I know you are, otherwise you wouldn't even be tuning into this silly show in the first place. I see Lois Conklin there listening a bit late. Yes, Lois, it does look different seeing that we are in my home. I am in my home in Santa Monica, aka iTink Studios, where my wife makes beautiful vintage, upcycles vintage clothing. She sells vintage clothing. She makes beautiful bucket hats and handbags, and she does her amazing work here. And I play music here. So welcome to my living room, Lois. I'm so glad that you are here. I've been playing a lot more music. I'm actually getting ready to record. Well, I've started recording some demos and coming up with some new songs. So I'm really excited to be recording a new album, which brings me actually to the Patreon. I want to thank the Patreon people, the Patreon contributors, Patreon community, the prospering Patreon community. Every Tuesday, for those who do contribute through Patreon, you can jump on a Zoom. 4 p.m. Pacific on Tuesdays, and we talk more about these principles. It's just like another excuse to do exactly what we're doing right here, and we love it. We love it. We love it. We love it. Oh, this week, Susan Sly from the UK was on there. Is she in the UK? I forget where she was. Oh yeah, I think she was in the UK when she was. But she was on our show. She's an amazing musician, an amazing artist. She used to own a gallery where Daryl showed his work at one point. So anyway, she jumped on, and we had the most amazing discussion. Actually, Cecilia said, I needed to hear this. Big hug to you both. Kat Hurst said, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I feel so not alone. I have the same thoughts as you so often. You both are amazing and inspiring. Thank you. And so while we were talking, it was so perfect because this shows are therapy for me. These shows are prayer conditioning for me and my mind and my life. And Susan, being a musician, she happened to be the perfect person for me to be talking to, because she said she's been listening to my old solo album. If you're on Spotify or Apple Music and you look up Ed the Word, like Word of God, like my name Edward, but Ed the Word, W-O-R-D, there's a record called A Real White Guy with a Guitar. And that actually is where the music for the show comes. If you listen to it on the podcast, came from that record. But she's been listening to that record. I made that record a while ago, and she said her friends have been listening. And see, what I've decided is, of course I can record another record. Of course I can write songs again. It's been a while since I've been in the habit. I used to write a lot of songs and play a lot of music. So it's been a while, subconscious mind started to believe that I couldn't. So I started, of course I can write new records. Of course these songs are going to be the best songs I've ever written. And as I do this, suddenly Susan comes out of the woodworks and tells me they're listening to my old record. So I start getting excited. And then I realized I had the perfect title for my new record, because so when I have felt like truly at a loss for, okay, what do I do given what I just saw on the news, or given what I just saw on YouTube, or given, like, when it really it seems so real. When the false fear hits and the false evidence appears real, I've been letting go, doing my morning, like doing my meditation and my affirmation, but I've also like, I talk to spirit and I hear a response and so I'm saying, what am I going to do? Like, this seems so, I have to admit, this feels so real to me. And the message I keep getting is relax, Ed. You don't need to worry about it. This is so much weirder than you think it is. You don't have to worry, Ed. There's so much more going on that you can't see. And so I keep getting that message. And also, so I realized when I was talking to Susan on the Patreon Zoom on Tuesday, that's the perfect record title is This is so much weirder than you think it is. Because that, like, when someone comes in front of me and I think it's so simple, oh, they're doing that thing. They cut me off because they're telling me they're telling me to F off, or that is just not true. Whatever inspired them to make that move is so much weirder than I think it is. I don't even care. Just bless it and let it go. Bless it and forget it. Just bless it and forget it. It's so much weirder than you think it is, whether it's politics or whether it's why does your mother-in-law act this way, or your father-in-law or your husband or your wife or your child. It tickles my brain at least to go, this is so much weirder than I think. This equation that's adding up to me feeling victimized is totally wrong. This whole thing, this whole life is so much weirder. And you don't have to use the word weird, but the original word weird did not have negative connotations. I believe it was like more of like a mystical thing, a more like divinely inspired word. And that rings true for me. I've always been sort of weird, or I've always felt divinely inspired by ideas that don't always make sense to other people. But it doesn't have to make sense to other people. It just has to inspire you to be you and to do the things that God has put in your heart and your mind to do. Of course you can. That's why I just want that, I called it an of course I can attitude. Because when we realize that the things that inspire us are the things we're meant to be doing, and we can take those things and do them in our current job, do them at an open mic, do them with we don't have to like burn our lives down just to do those things. Take some steps. Start doing the things you can do. I have a great story. My son, he's known me for quite a while. He's 22 years old, and I've known him since the day he was born. I was the first person to put my finger on his little head when he was crowning and coming out. And I'm the first person he saw on this planet. So anyway, so, we know each other very well. We talk to each other about these things. And he's currently working in an amazing job. It's about an hour and 15-minute drive for him. But there's so many wonderful things about it. But he also has a desire to do a job in the art world. Right now he's in finance. He was working in the music industry. But he took this amazing opportunity in finance. And but then all of a sudden he started to see like, well, these aren't really my people. I really want to be in fashion and art. And so he's been doing the smart thing. He's been the wise thing. He's been going out either in the evening or on the weekends and going to art galleries, meeting people. I mean, he does it because he loves it. So he's a natural sort of networker, not because he's like trying to manipulate things, but he likes people. So he's been doing his part. And then we were talking about how, and this is something that's important for all of us, we can bless the situation we're in and baptize it a success. And what I mean by that is we can say, this is what I've been saying and affirming, and this is what my son applied, and I'm going to tell you what happened when he did. Say to yourself, instead of going, oh, I got to get out of this job, or this, say, God is now working through this job to bring me my dream job. God is working through this relationship to liberate me and free me to be myself even more. God is working through my finances, these finances. God is working through this to bring me my heart's desire. So we had that conversation on his way to work. I'm so blessed because my son and I drive to work at the same time, so we talk on the phone on the way, and we're very like-minded, so we get each other kind of in the groove to have a great day. And so that day, he sat in the financial job office, and it's an amazing office. There's only 4 people in the office, and
It's in Newport Beach. It's beautiful. But he sat there and he said out loud, I think that he was alone in the office, or at least no one was in earshot. He said, he blessed the job and said, "This is the perfect job for me." So remember, the jobs that he wants to get involved in is like art and fashion, selling art, um, or even using some of the other skills that he has in that arena. So what happened next though was amazing. He blessed his job as being the perfect job. A couple hours later, the owner of the company came to him and asked Elliot, my son, to help him buy some art. Now, this owner has a lot of money and wants to pay, like for really quality art. So all of a sudden, my son affirmed that this is the perfect job for him, and that very job offers him the opportunity to become an art dealer, or the exact thing he's been wanting to do came through that job. It is so amazing how this stuff works. So I had a similar conversation with my wife, and it's like she's self-employed at the moment, and she has her brand. She's a designer, like I mentioned, and her brand is in stores, and so she does a lot of footwork. She designs all of the pieces, and she buys this vintage clothing. She does a lot of jobs, but she also makes her own hours a lot of the time. And so she was talking to me about how, and that could be challenging. Everyone who's working like a 9 to 5 wishes they were self-employed, but there's certain things that it's nice to have a routine that does make it easier. So anyway, we were talking, and my wife was talking about how sometimes she's like afraid. She's like, I know I can just kind of drift and I'll be okay. But she's like saying like, but I don't want to just drift through life. And so we're having a back and forth, and it just dawned on me that we do need to drift, because we can't will our way into our good. We do have to drift into it. But what we can do is affirm that I am drifting into my good. By letting go, I am becoming enthusiastic and more successful than I've ever become in my life. So we're combining the letting go and the affirmative power of our mind, which is where true change occurs, where true demonstration starts with our thinking. So we do let go and drift, but we affirm that I am drifting in the arms of God, and I can do no wrong because I am ending up in the perfect place because God loves me. Of course, I'm going to end up where I need to be. So just something to think about when you're like, when we stress, we tend to think, I can't let go now, I can't relax. I was about getting ready to do the show because I was inspired to do a solo episode last night. But as the show approached in the last couple hours, my mind started to stress and started to think, I got to do this, and started try to work harder. So what did I do? I sat in my chair. I meditated. I listened to my affirmations on the note on my phone. And I communicated with Daryl, asked him to just bless the show, reminded him how important his voice is, like let your energy come through. Because I can't pretend I love doing this show with Daryl. I can also do it the way I'm doing it now, but knowing that he's blessing it. And I also told him to be prepared to receive the blessings of all the people out there, including myself and all y'all who are sending love to him, because just like anyone, we can forget how loved we are. And it's important that we don't. Like lately, one of my practices has been to sit and recognize my mother loves me. I know she's praying for me probably right now. My wife loves me. Like saying it out loud. Of course my wife loves me. Of course I have friends that love me, because there can be old voices that think we're alone, that think that no one loves us. So again, we settle into that Christ consciousness, as they call it, which just means our true self. Unclouded by just old conditioning that we picked up that was like fear-based. And remember, fear is false evidence appearing real. I can't say that enough. For some reason, when I say that, you've heard it a million times, but if I'm feeling fear, if I say it out loud, this is just false evidence appearing real. It gets me because it's a denial and an affirmation. Because the false evidence reminds me, oh yeah, this is just false evidence that it appears real. Otherwise, it wouldn't be hooking me. That's why it hooks me, because it appears real. So it kind of helps me let it go. And then it also points me in the direction of what is real. If that's not real, what is real? And because I'm doing my morning routine and reading all these amazing authors, it's easier to find my way back to what's real. I want to thank the chief engineer also, Jeff Comfort, out there in Kansas City, Kansas. I know you guys love him. I love him. And each week, he takes us right into the comfort zone. Let's take a moment to bless Daryl out there, bless my friend Marion, who's been dealing with some health challenges and going and just retired and has been teaching a long time. So let's just send love to Marion. Anything you want us to pray on, just think about that now. We're sending love to all of your prayer intentions as well. Let me see if I can see this. Okay, good. And thank you, Barbara Weatherman, for saying this is definitely not a silly show. All right, I appreciate that. My friend told me something similar earlier. What else did I write down here that I wanted to make sure? So I told you about Elliot's story. Whatever your situation is, bless it and affirm that God is working through that. Because that, I've been really learning the value of non-resistance lately. The resistant attitude, we by knowing what we don't want, sometimes we inadvertently start focusing on that thing we don't want and create more resistance. We actually give that thing power by focusing too much and going, I don't want that, I don't want that. The key is to recognize it, then bless it, and then find the good in it. And then also, turn your attention when you're sitting and daydreaming and visualizing. Have a little notebook where you, like, if you want a new job that you're thinking about, or you're thinking, just only write down the inspired ideas that you get. And then when the resistance comes up, just bless it. Remember, it's false evidence appearing real. But if you will take note of the little ideas, you will start to get in tune with the energy of the job itself, the energy of the divine idea, the energy of the project. My buddy just got back out playing live again, music. And I suggested he do this for his first show, which he just did. And he said by the time he got there, he wasn't nervous. Because he wasn't so worried about himself. He knew why he was there. He had connected with the energy of the audience before he even got there. And so he had a pleasant experience. And I learned this firsthand when I talked to my district a couple months ago. I mentioned this. Ignore the negativity, like the fear-based stuff. Just write down. If you have a question like, why do I do this? Just write down that question. And then when the answers start to come, write the inspired answers down, right? If you're like, well, what do I like out of a show? What do I like when someone goes up and speaks? What do I like when I'm interviewing someone? You start making it, turning it from a problem to a project. I heard Butterworth say that first, Eric Butterworth. You're changing it from a problem to a project. So carry around your little journal, write down your ideas. I mean, I had a little break from doing meetings at school, but then I have some more coming up. And so they started coming up. And originally I was just like, they're going to be fine. But as they approached, an old voice started making them seem like it was going to be very hard or a lot of work. So I had the opportunity to say, no, of course these are going to go well. I had to flip it on its head. I had to catch those voices that were starting to make it sound like it was going to be hard. Because at first I was like, it's just a little voice telling me it's going to be hard. It's no big deal. But if we don't catch them, they grow, right? So I blessed it almost I had to really effort myself to bless it instead of be afraid or whatever, worried. But man, everything I needed to do for those meetings got done, including I had to assess a student, and I was worried. His teacher was kind of worried about how he's doing. But this is the kid that I saw miracles when I suggested that his parents write 3 sentences a night, and now he's writing like whole pages. I assessed this kid, man. He blew me away how strong his math skills are. It turned, and everything I needed to do got done in a fraction of the time. So whatever that thing is on your list that you're afraid of, whatever that phone call, that relationship, say, God is now, I'm blessing this a success. God is working through this very relationship to bring me the joy and liberation I desire. This God is working through this job to bring me the increase that I've been desiring. you're not just saying it's only going to come from that place, but you are now opening that place up as one of the infinite channels that God can work through to bring you your good. Because if I found out anything, it's like oftentimes God gets a good chuckle out of bringing my good through the last place I would have expected it to come from. So if you want to send us anything, send it on over to Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. I did get some great postcards from Kirk. Perhaps we can use those next week on the show. But so thank you, Kirk. I had a great chat. Kirk just happened to call me this morning to wish me a great show, and he didn't know I was doing it solo, but he was one of the people I was hoping I would talk to. So thank you, Kirk, for thinking of me. If you haven't gotten Daryl's new book, which is called Step Out Boldly, The Hidden Meaning of the Statue of Liberty by Daryl Fazaro. It's on Amazon. You can get it. I just want to read a couple things. It goes perfect with this show. He says on page 16, results always follow decisions. Things begin to happen that fall in line with our decisions. Do this and providence will illuminate your path, symbolized by the torch she holds high in her right hand. And he's referring to the Statue of Liberty. If you're on YouTube, you can see the amazing kind of collage illustration he made. So the torch is the promise that as you move forward, it symbolizes the promise that as you move forward, you will be guided by your intuition, and that is indeed God in you, and it will never lead you astray. And then on page 22 is a great picture of an immigrant coming to the United States on a boat way back when my grandfather and his brothers came over. He says, Lady Liberty emphasizes the spiritual truth that you can embark on the transformative journey toward realizing your dreams regardless of who you are or where you are when you step out boldly. Every immigrant who stepped aboard a ship destined for the United States of America during the 19th and 20th centuries embodied these principles to the point of action. Most came with nothing but their belief in what liberty promised. With that, many succeed, and so can you. So step out boldly. I got Jesus right here, Sacred Heart. It says, Jesus, I trust in you. I like that. Then my friends over at the Pauline Books and Media in Culver City sent me or hooked me up with a bunch of these. So it really speaks to me. There's something about the light coming out of Jesus' heart in this picture. My mother always prays with this picture as well. So it's a family tradition. Okay, so what we're looking to do is connect with that feeling of wholeness and oneness within us. Because as we feel it in our heart, so is it really done unto us. I mean, it's the feeling nature, right? Like when we're feeling in that loving, like we magnetically connect with that everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. And even in this great book one of the books we read with Nancy Norman on her or that she read from before she left the earth on her calls was You Too Can Be Prosperous by Robert A. Russell, and I highly recommend this book. And the part I was going to read today, and then I was going to skip it, but it's coming up, is riches come by the same law that metal objects come to a steel magnet. The power of attraction is not in the bar of steel, but in the invisible force with which it is charged. So it is with supply. It comes not by hard work, physical effort, or willpower, but by the Spirit of God embodied as a working force in consciousness. He says, we instinctively sense that these things are true, but we do not know how to become receptive. We did not know in the past, but we're learning now, right? It is not the power of God's hand that is foreshortened, but our realization of oneness with Him. When we get into a state of lack or want, it is so real to us that we cannot think of anything else. That's why it's so important to shift our vibration. Our static and undisciplined thought perpetuates the lack. Jesus did not say that we were to become resigned to cramped and limiting conditions, poor homes, neighborhoods, clothes, and food. He constantly implied that we should have the best of everything. He demanded of the multitudes, if ye know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven, which is in you, give good things to them that ask him. So start claiming you're good. Let's see here. Anything else? Oh my God. Mary Cufferly. Thank you, Mary. She says, wherever in the chapter called He who calls thee keeps thee. Whenever you are called upon to do something that seems impossible, say to yourself, God in me can. Yes, God can. Of course I can, because God can. Regardless of human limitation, personal hindrances, despair, and consternation, God can work with you and within you to solve your problems joyous and victoriously. And we're all learning and growing together. So jump on board. Share whatever you're going through with us here in the community. Jump on the Patreon, patreon.com/funniest thing. Contribute. I just love being part of this show with you all. Let's take a few deep breaths to clear our mind. We're going to wrap up the show in a moment. Okay. As I feel in my heart, the seas are going to part. As I feel in my heart, the seas are going to part. As I feel in my heart, the seas are going to part. Suppose I would have meant to set that up, but obviously what I was saying was, feeling when I wrote that was when I catch that feeling in my heart, all the seas that seem so rough and turbulent, that might seem like they're in between you and your dreams and your goals, they will part. They have to. As we begin to feel our oneness and our wholeness within ourselves, the seas have to part. Our good has to be born. It is divinely destined to happen. It's like once this seed is given the nourishment that it requires, which is our love and our attention and our affirmative thoughts, it has to grow. There's nothing that can stop it. That's why children will run away from home or be so upset when people try to tell them they can't be who they are meant to be. Once that train is moving, it has to keep moving. You have to keep moving. Just remember, it is so much weirder than you think. But weird is a good thing. Let me see if I can look up this word weird while we're here together, because if I can find the origin that I once found. Thank you guys for being part of the show. Let's see here. Fate or destiny. So it started as our fate, our destiny, right? Our intuition, our divine knowing, our true self. So be weird. Oh man, thank you, Barbara. I'm so glad you're here. Said amazing show, Ed. Love the part about non-resistance. I needed that today. All right, we're gonna end it since this is my guitar. If you're watching on YouTube, you could see it. I used to play a lot of shows with this. I recently had it fixed up so that I can get out there and play it again live. That was one of my bold steps. And I played this song that you might well know. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for being part of Funniest Thing with Ed and Daryl and Ed. Please subscribe, share the show with your friends, and all of that good stuff. But my friend Kevin, I want everyone to send love to my friend Kevin. He's a great musician. He actually became friends with the Beatles when he was 14. He sang on some Badfinger records, but people didn't know it was him because the singer had lost his voice, and he had an amazing voice. And you're welcome. Deborah, you are so welcome. But my friend Kevin, who I know from the coffee shop that I like, the conservatory, he lost his home in the fire. And he's been going through a little bit of health things, but he's an amazing guy. And he's actually friends with Ringo Starr. And so the other day, I was playing this song, and it made me think of him. I'm going to play a part of it. I got to hear. Okay, we did this before. We changed the lyrics a little bit. Okay. We don't want to pay our dues. We don't want to sing the blues, 'cause with God it all comes easy. We don't have to shout. We like to leap about, 'cause with God it all comes easy. Forget about your past and all your sorrow. The future's coming fast. We'll still be here tomorrow. We don't want to pay our dues. We don't have to play the blues, 'cause with God it all comes easy. We don't have to shout. We like to leap about, 'cause with God it all comes easy. With God it all comes easy. Thank God. All right, everyone. Daryl and Ed love you. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.